Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for asking. How can I help you today?
I want to talk about Quran Surah 33, verse 4. No need to say in Arabic. You could just say, and I actually specifically want to talk about the first part. Um, yeah,
In
so,
Surah, the first part says, God has not placed two hearts in any man's body. It's emphasizing that no human can have two hearts, like physically or metaphorically, pointing to the idea of singular devotion or focus. Want me to dive into the meaning or look for any patterns like we did with the palindromes before?
well, in the verse, he's saying that ما جعل الله لرجل من قلبين في جوفه. So, first of all, the word rajul, it's man. He's specifically saying man, but that means he's excluding women. How come?
Yeah, the word al-rajul in that verse, which translates to man, is specifically used, but in Arabic, it can sometimes function as a generic term for person or human, depending on context, much like mankind in English. In Surah 33, verse 4, where it says God hasn't placed two hearts in any man's body, the use of al-rajul likely refers to humanity broadly, not just males, despite the gendered term. Classical Arabic often uses masculine forms inclusively, especially in Quranic language, where terms like rajul or insan, human, can encompass both men and women, unless specified otherwise. Excluding women wouldn't make sense here, as the verse is making a universal point about human nature. Nobody, male or female, has two hearts, physically or metaphorically, suggesting no one can split their loyalty or essence. Historical tafsir, like al-Tabari's, supports this, treating it as a general statement about humans. Still, the choice of man can raise eyebrows if you're reading it literally. Want me to check other verses for similar word usage or dig into the metaphysical angle of two hearts?
No, so the word jofihi, what can you break that one down?
The word Dofahi in that verse from Surah 33 verse 4 means his body or his chest in the context of God has not placed two hearts in any man's body. Breaking it down, Jof refers to the interior or cavity, often the chest or torso, where vital organs like the heart sit. The ihi part is a possessive pronoun meaning his, so together, Jofahi translates to his interior or his body. In this verse, it's emphasizing the physical impossibility of having two hearts inside one's chest, which also carries a metaphorical weight, like no one can be split in their core allegiance or emotions. The word choice is vivid, grounding the idea in the human body's core to make it relatable. Want me to explore how this term is used elsewhere in the Quran, or dig deeper into its metaphorical vibe?
Well, no, so the question actually is Jofihi, how are you getting chest? Isn't it just interior, or are you just saying chest because of the context of this verse? Or what's the reason you're saying chest for Jofihi?
I'm saying chest for Jofahi because in the context of Surah 33, verse 4, Jof generally means the interior or cavity of the body, and when it's tied to the heart in this verse, God has not placed two hearts in any man's body, it often points specifically to the chest area where the heart resides. In Arabic, Jof can mean any hollow or interior part, like the belly or body cavity, but in classical texts and tafsir, like those from Al-Tabari or Ibn Kathir, it's frequently understood as the chest in this verse since it's talking about the heart's location. The ihi part, meaning his, ties it to the person's body. So while Jofahi could broadly mean his interior, chest fits the verse's imagery better due to the heart reference. Want me to check other Quranic uses of Jof to confirm its range of meanings?
No need. So here's the thought experiment. So the verse is talking about men specifically and saying their God has not placed two hearts within men in their body or in their interior. And specifically could have said insan, has not placed in the insan, or finnas, which both talks about people but in a more general sense, but specifically says men because maybe possibly excluding women because a woman can have two hearts in their body because a woman can get pregnant, and when a woman gets pregnant there can be two hearts.
That's a fascinating thought experiment. The verse in Surah 33, verse 4, using al-rajul, man, instead of a more general term like insan or nas, people, does raise the question of why it's so specific. Your idea about excluding women because they can carry two hearts during pregnancy, one for the mother, one for the fetus, is a creative angle. Biologically, a pregnant woman can indeed have two heartbeats within her body, which could seem to contradict the verse if taken literally, and if al-rajul strictly means only males. However, in Arabic, al-rajul can sometimes be a stylistic choice for humanity. As I mentioned, though your point about the deliberate use of man over people is intriguing. The context of the verse is more about the impossibility of dual loyalties or split natures, like having two hearts metaphorically, rather than a literal biological claim. Still, your interpretation suggests a possible distinction. Since women can carry another life, the verse might avoid generalizing to them to sidestep the biological nuance of pregnancy. That said, classical tafsir, like al-Jalalain, treats al-Rajul here as inclusive of all humans, focusing on the metaphorical unity of heart and purpose. Your pregnancy angle, though, is a fresh take that challenges a strictly literal reading. To explore further, we could look at how other verses use al-Rajul versus insan to see if there's a pattern, or check if any scholars address the pregnancy angle. What do you think? Want to stick with this idea or move to another verse?
No, I think that's enough. Thank you. All right, thank you guys. Hope you guys liked that one. It's a kind of interesting ayah, or a part of an ayah that I thought about.